Since the global financial crisis, China has quickly gained ground over the U.S. on the international economical stage. The economy of the U.S. has deteriorated and fallen, but the economy of China has skyrocketed and recorded what some people call miracle economic development. Hello there guys, greetings and welcome back to the channel. Today's video will discuss how China is sweeping America under the rug in front of the rest of the world, so be sure to stay focused. With each passing year, the Eastern superpower has solidified its position as the primary trading partner for the majority of nations across the globe. It has advanced to a part of prominence in supply networks around the world. It also exports more technology than the USA, while producing more commodities and automobiles. It ships a much greater quantity of items to the U.S. each year than the U.S. ships to China. The country's trade deficit with China has grown to become the most significant trade imbalance any country has ever had with another country in the records of global trade history. In addition to this, China has now amassed more than $1 trillion in U.S. national debt in its reserves, while the U.S. loses hundreds of thousands of jobs every year to China. If the state of the global economy were a game, the USA would be performing exceptionally poorly, and China would be leading the pack. However, before you check out this list, we would appreciate it if you could show your support for our channel by giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to it so that you don't miss any of our future videos. Without further ado, here are 20 indications that China is wholly and utterly destroying the USA. Number 1. According to estimates provided by the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, the average purchasing power of Chinese consumers is 1.18 times greater than that of consumers in the US. 2. The method used to calculate purchasing power parity by the IMF, which takes into account the effect of exchange rates and is therefore the most accurate method for comparing the gross domestic product or GDP of different countries. China officially became the largest producer in the world in 2019. While the economy of China created $22.5 trillion, the economy of the US only produced $20.5 trillion. 3. According to figures provided by the World Bank, the Chinese GDP is getting closer and closer to matching that of the U.S. with each passing year. In 1960, China's gross domestic product was equivalent to only 13% of the U.S.'s. By 2021, the percentage had increased by a factor of 5, reaching 73%. 4. Since 1970, China's gross domestic product has grown at a rate no higher than 19.3%. On the other hand, the U.S.'s gross domestic product growth rate has been negative for 8 consecutive years. The U.S.'s maximum GDP growth rate was 7.24% during the same period. The only time China had negative growth was over 4 years. 5. According to the data in the World Factbook, China is currently more advanced than the U.S. in the agricultural and industrial sectors. The U.S. only accounts for 17.58% of China's agricultural output, while the industrial sector accounts for 77.58%. 6. In 2001, China became the member of the World Trade Organization. Over the past 10 years, the rate of expansion of the Chinese economy has averaged 10% per year, whereas throughout that period, the United States' proportion in the global economy fell from almost half to 22%. 7. The global economic order has been rethought due to China's ongoing economic miracle growth over the past 4 decades, which has occurred at an average rate 4 times that of the U.S. 8. Since the global financial crisis of 2008, China has surpassed the U.S. as the dominant driver of economic expansion around the globe. China is responsible for 1/3 of the global gross domestic product growth. 9. China has surpassed the U.S. over the last 20 years to become the industrial workshop for the rest of the globe. 10. In 2001, when China joined the World Trade Organization, more than 80% of countries had a larger volume of trade with the U.S. than with China. By 2018, that figure had dropped to 30%, and 2/3 of nations, or 128 out of 190, traded more with China than they did with the U.S. China has now become the #1 trading partner of most nations worldwide. 11. Equally crucial, more than 90 countries conducted more than twice as much business with China as they did with the U.S. 12. According to information provided by the Department of Energy, China is responsible for processing 60% of the world's lithium, 80% of the world's cobalt, and mining operations. China controls more than 90% of the worldwide supply of rare earth metals and 68% of the world's graphite, which is used in producing high-capacity batteries. 13. China has also established itself as the most vital link to the world's critical global supply chains during the past 20 years. 14. 2020 marked the first time that China overtook the U.S. as the country home to the most significant number of the most valuable enterprises on the Global 500 list, published by Fortune. It has also competed with the U.S. as the leading country in luring foreign direct investment. 15. The USA is now the third largest exporter in the world, behind China and Germany. In 2020, China will have exported goods worth $2.5 trillion, with the European Union coming in second at $2.3 trillion. While coming in third place with $1.7 trillion in exports, the U.S. 16. By 2027, it is projected that China will pass the U.S. to become the world's most important economic power. 17. At the same time as the U.S. sent commodities to China for $461.7 billion in 2021, China was shipping the same things to the U.S. User is only $106.5 billion, which results in a trade deficit of $355 billion between the U.S. and China. 18. On the other side, the U.S. is the largest importer in the world, having spent $2.6 trillion in 2021 on items purchased from other countries. While China is the third largest importer in the world, in 2018, it imported $2.1 trillion worth of goods. 19. As of August 2020, China was the second largest foreign holder of U.S. treasuries, with a total portfolio value of $1.1 trillion. Because China ties its currency, the yuan, to the value of the U.S. dollar, the nation purchases U.S. debt to maintain its weight. However, China's position as the most prominent banker in the U.S. offers its immense influence. For example, China can devalue its currency when necessary to maintain the competitiveness of its export prices. Whenever the U.S. applies pressure on China to raise the yuan's value, China threatens to sell parts of its treasury holdings, which would cause the dollar's value to plummet. 20. China's global trade surplus reached an all-time high of $676.4 billion in 2021, making it the greatest ever. This was due to China's exports increasing by 29.9% over the previous year, despite semiconductor shortages that hampered manufacturing. Every year, the U.S. loses more jobs due to the rapid export of high-tech employment abroad. More enterprises are leaving the U.S. and moving to China. Over the past 50 years, there has been a U.S. between corporate profits and worker wages. Big American firms do not guarantee they will give Americans good jobs, even though they are generating record profits. Since China joined the WTO, it has become too simple for large firms to move jobs to the Chinese market, where it is allowed to pay employees pitifully cheap wages. Additionally, it indicates that the number of Americans dependent on the government has been rising. If systemic improvements aren't made, structural underemployment and unemployment issues will continue to plague the U.S. for many years. To make matters worse, there is growing evidence that the U.S. economy is set to enter a new recession, which might give China the advantage it needs to topple the U.S. in the world economic arena eventually. In sum, China is outperforming us, and the U.S. must immediately improve if they want to maintain its position as the world's wealthiest nation. Today, that's all we've got for you. Would you like to learn more about the U.S. and China's economic tension? Give this video a giant thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you don't want to miss any future videos. Do you want to discover more statistics about China and U.S. rivalry? Please join in and let us know your thoughts in the comment section.